What's up everybody and welcome to the channel. In today's video, we're gonna take a full look at the all-new 2024 Toyota Tacoma. This is the 4th gen Tacoma against the 3rd gen. This is a 2023 Toyota Tacoma. So we're gonna kind of go into depths of how these trucks actually feel when driving them. We've done quite a few videos, of course, of the new truck. My brother has owned 2 different generations Tacomas and has a new one coming shortly. So we're very familiar with the Tacoma platform in general on this channel. But today's video, I want to talk about, is this a more quality truck? Is it more solid, better pricing? Is the 4 cylinders, the interior, is it up on par? Is it something worth buying? Now this one is a TRD Sport, finished in the Barcelona Red. With 13,000 miles, this one's going for $38,000. Now this is brand new, obviously, for $48,000. Finished in the new Supersonic Red. It's also a TRD Sport, and both of these are very comparably spec'd. All right, so one of the biggest differences between the outgoing 3rd gen and the new 4th gen is the engine. Now here on this 2023, you're gonna find a 3.5 liter 6-cylinder engine, of course, naturally aspirated motor. It pushes 278 horsepower with 265 pound-feet of torque, and it's paired to a 6-speed automatic transmission. However, you can get a 6-speed manual on this truck. Of course, rear-wheel drive as well as 4-wheel drive are also available. Now, over on the all-new Toyota Tacoma, this has a 4-cylinder turbocharged engine, so there is no more big ol' V6. This has a 2.4 liter inline 4-cylinder turbocharged engine with still 278 horsepower. However, this one has 317 pound-feet of torque. It's also paired to the 8-speed automatic transmission. A 6-speed manual is also available still, 4-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive. However, for the 4th gen, there's also going to be a hybrid available coming very shortly with even more horsepower and torque to really pump out some numbers. But that's going to be the biggest thing. The V6 is gone. It is incredibly robust and reliable. 300,000 miles on this truck is not going to be an issue. We are unsure. This is a relatively new engine. However, Toyota has done turbos for several decades in other markets on other vehicles. So turbo technology is nothing new to Toyota. It is just new for the Toyota Tacoma. So we will of course see how this handles long-term doing truck things. That's what seems to be the biggest comments. Can a 4-cylinder turbo make a truck still be a truck versus a robust old school engine? So the next thing to talk about is the interior fit and finish. The overall quality has Toyota cheapened up with the 4th generation. Now this one's kind of decently equipped. There are much nicer trim levels that will have the synthetic leather material all over the place, looking a lot better. These two are really identically spec'd with nearly the same seats and everything. So when you're sitting in here, you do get a very nice leather wrapped steering wheel. I like the controls on it. Everything looks good, it feels good. Some fake stitching on the airbag cover, silver trim. It's a really nice steering wheel. I don't think you're gonna complain. The multimedia screen in the center is massive. It's like 14 inches, and you have all the modern Toyota things that you're used to seeing on any new Toyota. So it's easy to use. Certain trims are gonna have a 360 camera view. You have a great backup camera, massive navigation screen when the car is all set up. So the technology is nice. The gauge cluster, it's a big screen. It looks really cool. We do have physical climate controls in the center with their own screen, which does keep it kind of old school and kind of what you're used to seeing on a Tacoma. Massive dials for fan speed and temperature, and then your toggles. In the center, you know, the shifter wobbles a little bit. You have a grab handle, there's a little bit of play to it, but it does feel nice, it feels solid. Plenty of storage solutions, wireless charging, extra USB ports. You have some blank switches in the center as well, kind of depending on what options you go with. 4-wheel drive selector is right in the center with a few drive modes and things like that. The plastics, you know, on the door panel, this is just kind of hard plastic, nothing too special. Most of the door panel is kind of plasticky, and you can pull it and it wobbles a little bit. So yeah, a little bit of cheap materials for the door panel. Higher trims, once again, will have nicer things. But you know, you do have padding on the armrest, the TRD logo, storage. The dashboard, yeah, it's hard plastic too, so not really a soft touch. So I wouldn't say it's a bad interior. It feels nice. If you get more of a cheaper SR5, it feels a little bit cheaper, but overall, I don't really have an issue. These seats, you do have several adjustments. You can pump this one up and down, so you can fit really nice in it. These are really comfortable. I like the armrest on the inside as well. Rubber, but nonetheless, it's still comfortable. Moving on to the 2023, the 3rd gen Tacoma. This truck is actually a little bit lower sitting than the brand new one. So it's about 2 or 3 inches. I had to adjust my tripod to sit on the door sill. So this is a lower truck than the new one. It's got a little bit more height to it. Now, sitting in here, honestly, back to back, I wouldn't say one is necessarily that much better than the other. I do like the vinyl material, this rugged material on the dash as well as on the door panels, it does make this feel nice. It's a cool material. However, I mean, this is still plastic. It's not like this is some luxury truck. The shifter, honestly, it wobbles just as much. And in the center, this is all plastic as well. So it's not like the Tacoma was ever a luxury truck. I think some people may think it was or something, but you still see a lot of plastic in here. Now, the steering wheel, I like it. It looks good with the leather material on it. A little bit old school looking, obviously. The new truck, I think, looks nicer for the steering wheel. This is a bit more basic, plastic on the airbag cover, basic buttons, nothing too fancy. The screen in the center, I don't think it looks bad, honestly, even being the previous generation. You got your 2 analog gauges and a nice little screen in the center with some information. And then the screen in the center for infotainment isn't bad either. You still get kind of the basics on it. Obviously, the new screen is like twice the size and has more information, a little bit clearer graphics. This one, you're still gonna get the manual controls down below for climate, a little screen for them as well, a few blank switches here and there, and all of your typical buttons. Sitting in here, the seat, now this one does go up and down with power controls. So yeah, it's nice to see power controls on these equal specs. You gotta get a very expensive package in the new truck to get that. The seat base on the new truck feels longer. I feel like it's a little bit more supportive on my legs. And then this one, the backs are kind of the same. So overall, I like the seats better than the new truck, just yes, no power controls. Other than that, interiors do feel kind of on the same level, just slightly nicer materials at the same exact like option for option truck in the old one, but I don't think it is enough to say the new truck feels cheap. However, I guess when you factor in the $10,000 price difference, you're paying a lot more for nothing better really. However, the new truck does look a lot better overall. It looks cooler, looks more modern. Onto the back seat space. Now I have the driver's seat set at my height. I'm 5'11", so sitting behind myself, my knees are touching the seat. They are definitely in there. It's fine back here. It's definitely not the best back seat in the world. There's no climate vents. You have 2 cup holders, grab handle on the door panel, which is mainly all plastic back here. So again, it's not a luxury truck. You do have that cool vinyl material on the door. I feel very high up compared to the driver. I'm seeing over the headrest. Good headroom, about an inch or so. There's no center armrest. We do have a power sliding rear glass. Grab handles back here, dome lights. The seat back and the bases are fine. I mean, my legs are a little high above this, so the seat cushions themselves could be higher, even though I already feel so high up in the truck. And then the backrest is on the straight up side, but I mean, I've been in the back of these trucks quite a bit. Really nothing that's too bad. It's decent. These headrests also fold forward to give you better visibility. So it's a fine back seat, certainly not the best, but not the worst either. All right, back into the 4th generation Toyota Tacoma. In the back seat, I feel more like I'm sitting into this seat. I'm a little bit lower in comparison to the top of this front headrest. However, at the driver's seat set to my height, I have just a little bit more legroom. I would say like a ½ inch. My knees are barely touching the fabric back here. They're not into it like they were on the other truck. The seat on the bottom, it's similar, you know, it doesn't quite support your leg. However, you sink a little bit deeper into the back of the seat. I do feel like these recline are a little bit more straight up than in the old truck. Headrests are still gonna fold down to give you that visibility. And once again, yes, for more money, this one does not have the optional power sliding rear glass. It is available probably in that $8,000 package. So I get it on some of the features. There is no armrest, you have 2 cup holders, you do have 2 USB plugs, no air vents in either truck, which is kind of a bummer. And then the door panel finished in plastic, just like on the old truck. However, we have a plastic armrest versus that cool rugged vinyl. So there are some aspects to this truck that are a little cheaper. I can see that, and yes, I get it with the price. So I can see a little bit. However, this is a more comfortable back seat, honestly. I fit a little bit better. I feel like I could sit here a little bit longer, and I feel more sunken into the truck. Front seat for sure, and back seat as well. As far as rear storage goes, you can lift up these seats, and you have a plastic lined storage cubby underneath the entire rear bench. So that is a really nice thing to see. The backrest, you can pull this strap, and these will fold down flat. You have kind of a carpet material back here. However, you do have 2 large cubbies for extra storage, and then a fabric material on the backs of these seats. For the rear storage on the 3rd gen, you can lift up these seats from the back. They're gonna pop open, and then you have these storage areas. So a little bit smaller, a little bit more steps to gain access to the storage in the older truck. And then in order to fold these seats, you also have a strap, and these will fold down nice and flat. You do get this very nice durable plastic liner on the backs of the older truck, which is fantastic for putting stuff here, and a much nicer lined plastic storage behind both of these seats. So storage in the backs is better on the old truck. However, I think the under storage is better on the newer truck. Now, as far as bed space, they're nearly identical. The old truck has a slider on the left as well as the right, nice rail. There's nothing on the front from the factory, and you get this plastic composite bed liner. You have a soft open tailgate, so it's pretty easy to operate. On the new truck, there are spray and bed liners available on the same composite bed liner. This one does come with 3 rails, which is nice to see straight from the factory. So a little bit nicer bed. And then of course you have a very lightweight, this is actually a lot easier to open and close, which is a cool touch. And then some trim levels will have a power tailgate as well. And then real quick, let's talk about the exterior styling. Purely subjective. I mean, the old truck, it still looks nice, has a cool front end design. The new truck has that Sequoia, that Tundra style to it, a little bit more bold and aggressive. The front air dam, each of these sports will come with this factory, which are massive. You definitely want to rip that off if you're going to be off-roading. The off-roads will not come with that piece. You do have a little bit updated lighting for the new truck, a ton of sharp body lines. I personally like it a lot. I think it looks really good. I don't have any complaints with the new truck style, and I also don't have any complaints with the old truck style. It's a good looking vehicle, really can't complain. In the back, a little bit more boxy, edgy on the new truck versus how the previous generation was looking. So can't really complain, they both look good, and these ones are almost the identical spec, which is definitely cool to take a look at. So hopping into the 3rd generation Toyota Tacoma, this is the 2023. I have this seat at the lowest point to just try to get as comfortable as I can. It's not a bad seating position. I don't really mind it. I know some people complained about the old one quite a lot. I mean, I have plenty of headroom. My legs are pretty comfortable. The dash is definitely a little bit lower. I wouldn't mind the steering wheel a little bit closer. However, I can't put the seat any closer or my knees would be really bent. So I can kind of see there's a slight cramped feeling for my legs personally in this. So I don't know, it could be better, which of course the new one is, as you will see. But nonetheless, driving this with the V6 along with the 6-speed, one drawback is the gear hunting. When you're on the highway, a lot of times this won't even use 6th gear. They basically use the same rear end from the older truck, which had a 5-speed automatic, and they never optimized the rear end gearing to fit a 6-speed. So that's something a little weird. You know, you might want to re-gear these old trucks or do, I believe, the OV tune or something to really make this transmission work a lot better. But nonetheless, when we get up to some speed, all right, so that is something I'm not a fan of with the old trucks. It is slow. It just is. You gotta kind of give it a lot of gas for it to then downshift, because it's probably already upshifted, and then you get the power and it's just not that smooth, and it's decent. Like the horsepower, obviously these are the same horsepower, so once you get in the higher RPM, I mean, it moves. It's not bad. It's just the slow speed driving, you really got to give it gas, downshift. There we go. After downshifting a million times, finally getting some power. So it's a little sluggish around town. However, you're not buying this to be a performance truck, but I feel like it does make the driving of this just a little bit more stressful than not. You know, I like performance vehicles. I like cars that respond quickly. So the slower response to the power in this engine, to me, is a little downfall. It makes us feel like, okay, come on, let's start moving. Now on to the 4th generation Toyota Tacoma. First initial impressions sitting in here, I do like this seating position a lot better. The armrests feel a little bit more higher, where they're really supporting my arms nicer. The seat itself is definitely cradling me better to where I just fit really comfortably in this truck. So that is a big plus. The steering does feel a little bit lighter. I don't hate or like either one better than the other. This makes it a little bit easier, I guess, just doing parking lot maneuvers. So I guess the steering is a little bit better feeling, especially in a parking lot. You do feel like you're nice and high up as well. The hood feels a little bit longer in this truck than on the old one. The old one feels a little bit flat and wide. This dashboard also feels a little bit higher. So I do like sitting in here significantly better. It's just a more comfortable place to be. Not to say the old one is like a horrible place to be. I have no complaints, but this does feel like a step up. Now driving in this with the automatic transmission, now we have more gears. You're not gonna see any of that gear hunting. They've done a really good job optimizing this transmission, the rear end and the engine to work a lot better together. One of the biggest things also, you do have drive modes. If we toggle this dial, we have a sport mode, which is cool. With that turbo, you have so much more power. The usable torque is a significant difference. The slow speed, like let's get up and go right here. We're in just a normal mode now. I mean, you just barely give it gas and the turbo is kicking in and we just have a lot of power. Now this sounds a little wimpier than the V6, however, neither of them sound amazing, I can tell you that. But driving this feels so much more light on its toes. The acceleration is by far better. It's just more peppy, it gets up to speed. It doesn't just downshift 4 times, floor it, redline to give you the power. You know, we are, if I back out of that screen, we're just cruising at 1500 RPM, giving it half throttle, not even 4,000, and we are up to the speed limit. So this feels like you are not putting as much stress on the engine as the 6-cylinder. Yes, it has forced induction, applying boost to the engine versus just letting the engine breathe naturally, but you're not really going high RPM versus the old truck is using more of the power band. This, you got all the power under 4,000, so you don't need to stress the motor. I'm not really too concerned, honestly, with the reliability. I feel like this truck feels more capable. It does. It drives more peppy. It can tow a little bit more. The low-end torque is going to help you when you're off-roading to where you don't need to just floor it, building so much pressure in the torque converter in the transmission either. You know, we've off-roaded both of the old Tacomas that my brother's owned, and you got to floor it a lot to get some of the power. This, I'm excited when he gets it to off-road it because I feel like you can use less of the motor and lower RPM to start conquering off-road terrain because you just don't have to floor it as much. So I'm hopeful for this. The overall ride, the suspension feels similar. We do have, rather than leaf springs in the back, we do have coil springs now. Some of the more base trim levels of the new trucks are still gonna have leaf springs, but we have coil springs in all the nicer trims. So this one, it feels, honestly, from this drive, it feels pretty much the same. Not really gonna notice the biggest differences unless you're just really living with both trucks. For $10,000 more, is it worth getting this over the old one? I don't know. I don't really see that this is 10 grand better. However, it is a better truck. It's a newer truck. Obviously, prices in the last several years have gone through the roof. That's just kind of what happens when the economy goes in the tubes. Prices go up. So it is what it is, unfortunately, with pricing. I think that's probably the hardest thing that people are justifying every little thing they don't like with it. Just, it's a lot more money for, in some cases, less features like we have seen in both of these trucks. All right, so ending thoughts after driving in these two comparably equipped TRD Sport Toyota Tacomas, 3rd generation versus the all-new 4th generation. The biggest differences are definitely going to be the drive. The more power in the 4-cylinder turbo is more fun to drive. So I do like the improvements. I think it is a better truck overall. I think the biggest thing is going to come down to, is the 4-cylinder going to be as reliable and as robust as the 6-cylinder? Can it truly handle truck things? Also, will the Tacoma continue to hold its value so well? These trucks, I mean, this was literally probably its original MSRP a year or so later. So if the new truck can hold the same value, be as reliable, I think it's a fine truck. Yes, 10 grand more is quite a lot of money to upgrade into the truck. I wouldn't say you need to jump out, sell your old one, get a new one just because, but if you are in the market for an updated Toyota Tacoma, it's a great truck. I enjoy driving it. My brother's really excited about buying the new truck, and I'm excited to see what we can do with it on and off road, as well as all the upgrades and its capabilities. I think we got to give the truck a chance. So many other vehicles are going to 4-cylinders, but the old school V6s are gone. So this is kind of where the industry is going. But I think it'll be a good truck overall, and I do like the upgrades. But anyways, those are my thoughts. Comment below, and of course, go drive one back to back. See what you really think to come up with the best comparison. Those are all my thoughts. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Big shout out to Full Toyota of Statesville once again for providing both of these trucks for the video. Take a look at their website linked below, and I'll see you all in the next video.